And now it's time for the Indy Art Show! The Indy Art Show! The Indy Art Show! Yay! Woohoo! Featuring the hostess with the mostest, Maria, a haunted gypsy! And also featuring undiscovered talent that's alive and looking for love and support within your very own community. We are your neighbors. Your creative neighbors. Yep, we're the ones that turned your neighborhood into a vibrant arts district, causing property values to rise. We're the ones that take your neighborhood and make it a fun and joyful place for everyone to live. So show us some love. Show us some love. Show us some love. All right. Wow. Whoa, okay, so now I need to switch cameras, and I don't know how I'm gonna... Ah, we have Roger on camera. Ah, there's me from a distance. Oh dear, I don't know how long it's gonna take before I get where I'm actually good at doing this show, producing this show. Hello, everyone. I'm not sure which camera I'm supposed to be on here. I think camera D? No, I'm not on camera. Okay, I'm on the distant camera today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the world-famous Indy Art Show. Yes, known all around the world. It's incredible and amazing. And we're here today to debut the Think Twice Radio on the Air equipment, which I don't think you can see. But it's pretty amazing. So we've got new equipment, and this is very exciting. So today we have a great guest on. His name is Roger. Should I say your last name?
If you want,
Roger,
why not?
Roger Scott. He does not work for the CIA. He's not a special agent, so the rumors are not true. And he's here. He's a very well-respected filmmaker, animator from New York City, and he's lived in other places, and now he lives in the Western New York region. And he's here to talk to us at the Indy Art Show because you know how it works. We always kidnap our guests and we force them in the studio, sometimes at gunpoint. But this time we didn't have to do that because he knocked on the door of the house and we just dragged him in. So you know how that goes. So yeah, welcome to the Indy Art Show. So Roger, let me see if I can get you on camera again. Aha, there you are.
There I am.
You're famous now, and we've got millions of viewers watching you.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yes, you're very, very famous, very well known, and now when you walk down the street, people are going to say, oh, there's that guy.
Oh, boy.
So just to warn you, fame is not easy. You know,
It's a burden.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. So, Roger, what's going on with you? Did you want to talk about, I know we talked off camera, you are an animator, a filmmaker, very successful creative artist. And so in the Indy Art Show, we like to talk about the arts. But also we were talking about healthcare earlier. And is that something that you wanted to talk about a little bit? Or do you want to, am I getting too deep too quickly? Or?
Well, we can do that if you want. Or we can start with art and money.
Art and money is a great topic that I love to talk about on the Indy Art Show here. Because even though I get paid probably like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, to do this show. And of course, if that were true, I'd probably be fired. But anyway, so yeah, art and money, we were talking earlier about that. And of course, there's always this debate on that from a distance here. Usually I get close-ups. Where's my agent? Where's my agent? I thought I was going to get a close-up. Usually I'm right on camera. I'll tell you, I'm going to fire that person who doesn't work for me yet. You know how they say my future ex-wife or my future ex-agent. You know, well, anyway. So yeah, so we were talking about the arts, and we were talking about, actually this is a very serious topic. So we were talking about the arts, and we were talking about how if you earn money as an artist, that can taint the art, because the people who have the money often are very pro-establishment. So how can you be an anti-establishment artist, or how can you even say what you feel about anything if you're focused on making money? But then again, if you don't make money as an artist, then I think it becomes hard to be an artist. So what's your take on that?
You know, I was having a discussion earlier about logos, designing logos. Mm-hmm. In fact, it was with Ken. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's not art. And he just...
Really? You don't think logos are art? Well...
And logos, it's like, it's so clear that you're working for a client, and your goal is to please that client.
Right.
That is not the goal of art.
Right.
It may be artistic. You may have, you may need artistic inclinations and some foundation and be able to understand fonts or drawing or layout or composition. All those things are techniques that artists use. But creating a logo is not art. I just don't see it. It's really, anytime you are creating something for someone else, and in that case, it's really someone very specifically, I just don't see that as art. Art is something that basically I think comes out of you without consideration of audience, of who's looking, and what they think, right? I just don't see that. It just seems to me that, for instance, in animation, right? I made lots of films for people.
Sure.
It's an artistic, endeavor, but it's not per se art, in my opinion. It can rise to that because there are some independent animators that make animated films for the purpose of art, for the sake of art. Yeah, if I've done hundreds of commercials, it's not art.
You don't consider it to be art. So, but a person's drawing, there's a certain amount of work and time and effort that goes into that.
It's artistic.
But isn't there a certain amount of self-expression that goes into that, even if you're being paid to do it?
Yes, but it is compromised by the fact that self-expression is being controlled by someone else in the end. If they don't like it, you have to change it. That's not the same as, I'm going to do a painting or I'm going to do an animated film because I'm going to do my animated film. And no one's telling me you can't do that way. I don't like it. Right. I think once you add that in, it changes the dynamic.
So what about an artist who's like hired by a church to paint the ceiling of the church or something like that? Then would you say that also is not art? Even if it's very beautiful and very technically,
It depends. It depends on how much that client has a hand in what is happening, right? I mean, if you look back at, if you're talking like, Michelangelo and, the Sistine Chapel and, with this amazing, just astounding artwork, right? But that's still, that's in service to someone else. And so it doesn't rise, it's artistic, it's masterful, but is it the kind of art that comes from the soul of an artist that's just for the sake of art? I just don't think so.
Well, what if the artist agrees with the person hiring them? What if the artist is very religious?
There you have it. That's a different story now, right? Because now the artist is feeling that themselves, right, and expressing that. That's different. That is different, right? It's not the same as commercial art, for instance, or any of the other graphics arts. These are all pursuits that are artistic. And require, an artistic eye and color sense and et cetera, but it's not the same as someone who is going to sit in front of a canvas and paint something because, and that's the only motivation, just because they just have to get it out.
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, because I've been thinking a lot about how if you're an artist, how art sometimes upsets people, upsets the status quo. And so if you want to make a statement with your art, for example, if you wanted to make a statement that we should help the homeless or something like that, a lot of people in the establishment who have a lot of money are not going to like that art. They're not going to appreciate that art. Well, I made a documentary about homelessness, so I kind of know a little bit about what I speak. And so I made this documentary on homelessness basically out of my heart because of how I felt about the topic. But then I went on YouTube and I saw that there was a man making some videos about trying to do something similar to what I was doing, interviewing homeless people and talking to the homeless. But he got money from a corporation that gave him a few $1,000s. So my feeling was, okay, so you made some money, but that corporation is part of the reason why there are homeless people. So they basically bought you off. So now you can't, there's certain statements you can't make. Right. Whereas for me, like, I'm not making any money. I'd like to make money. That would be great. But I feel like I need to make this statement, and I need to let people say what they really want to say. And some of the people I interviewed said some interesting things. Like one guy I interviewed who was crazy, actually. He was pretty crazy. But he still said some very intelligent things. He talked about working at a low-paying minimum wage job and not making enough money to live on. He said, hey, now that I'm homeless, I get all kinds of assistance, and I'm living better than I did before. So, and I mean, he made a really good point. He raised a really good point because he had some mental health issues. Now he's able to get help for those issues because he's homeless, so he qualifies for the assistance to get the help that he needs. And I thought he made a really good point. Now, if my point, I guess, is that if I were getting money from a big corporation, I wouldn't be able to make statements like that. And I wouldn't be able to stand there and say, these big corporations are part of the problem. They're not paying their employees enough, and they're not providing benefits, and they keep lobbying to, for policies that hurt people. So it's just, what I'm trying to say in my long-winded way is just, I can see how art is really tainted and controlled. And
it's compromised. I mean, basically, especially if the person or the organization funding it is really at odds with the artist or the person creating this material, their viewpoint. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really weird, don't you think? That suddenly you've got to like shift what you're doing, and it really is. It's kind of distasteful. Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of times where I've done, I'm working on a commercial and I've done something a certain way, and someone will decide, a client will decide, well, no, I don't like it that way. And it's like completely arbitrary.
Yeah.
And it's really infuriating because it's like, what do you do with that? You have no choice but to go, okay.
Yeah, you have to do it their way. And so now there's a big campaign. Well, I mean, maybe not a campaign so much, but there does seem to be a big move in the way of artists trying to make money. Like there's a lot being talked about business in the arts. And I was kind of thinking that's because people are working 60, 70 hours a week just to earn a living. So maybe a lot of artists are having a hard time finding time for their art, having to work so much. But then the other thought that occurred to me is maybe this is just another way to control artists, to keep us in check, to keep us from being rebellious, is to say, you know what, you should make a living at your art. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's just a thought that I had, and I wonder what you think about that whole push.
Do you mean like, social media funding artists or things of that sort?
No, not really, but just it just kind of seems like there's a lot of discussion happening now about artists turning their art into a business. It's kind of a popular thing. There's even like business programs in colleges now. I know NYU, New York University, has something, entrepreneurship for the arts, I think. SUNY Purchase has something like that, entrepreneurship for the art. It's sort of like an MBA for the arts. Right. And so there's just kind of a lot of people talking about this topic right now.
It seems like, I mean, to begin with, the first thought I had is, in some ways, arming an artist with some business sense could be good in the sense that, you'd have a wider tool set available to you. But the issue of, compromising the art comes in. I mean, but on the other hand, I mean, look at Andy Warhol. I mean, oh my God, it's like brilliant, and he mass-produced the art. I mean, but nothing new. I mean, the Renaissance, those art houses reproduced art constantly. So, but he had a business sense.
Yeah.
Not all artists have a business sense.
Yeah, I think most artists don't.
No, I don't. I agree. I don't think most artists have a business sense, and in fact, probably rail against the idea in some ways.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think it could be beneficial You know, I mean, it seems like if you're railing against something that is could potentially help you, that could be in itself a bit of you know, of an issue, a bit of dysfunction. But again, it's like the balance of it. How do you do this without,
Yeah.
you know, having it, you know, suddenly become all about the business?
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I know I have friends that are potters, and they're running a business.
Really.
You know, I mean, they're producing, you know, work, right? Is it art? It's utilitarian. It's very artistic. And, you know, if it's a dinner set, you know, is that art?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Really? You don't consider that to be art?
No, it's artistic.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what if...
Now, if the dinner set is such that you actually can't eat off of it, now that's art.
Ah, so that's the secret, is to not be able to eat off it. Now, does this have something to do with your being on a diet lately, that you're saying this kind of thing about art?
It could be, in dinner plates
So
particularly.
I take it you don't believe in edible art, then? It's like the, you know, chocolate sculptures.
Well, that's interesting. No, I mean, that's, you know, temporary art. That's kind of interesting. And in the end, it's all temporary art. I mean, really, when you come down to it. So yeah, I guess it could be if something is edible or something only exists briefly. I mean, there's a lot of artists that will do these amazing sculptures in sand, you know, and all these outdoors, and you know, they're not going to last.
But some of those artists get paid to do that. So how do you feel about that? I mean, would you consider it to be art then?
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, it depends on, again, on that relationship. I mean, making money with art and being paid by a client that is actually controlling the outcome,
Right.
I think are different.
Right.
You know, I don't think they're the same thing.
So it's sort of like kind of like the intention behind the art then, isn't it? Because like if you're free as an artist to create something, like, well, like suppose I write a song and then somebody wants to buy it and they give me $20,000 for my song.
Right, and you've already, you see, the art occurred.
Yeah.
And that person that wants to buy it had nothing to do with that occurrence.
Right.
Right, it exists.
Right.
That's like someone painting a painting. That's not a commission.
Right.
Right. That it's something that they did. It occurred. It exists. Selling it now is another matter. That
Right.
It hasn't corrupted or it hasn't influenced the outcome of that painting necessarily.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. So so what do you like? What you know? What's really interesting to me too is I contacted SUNY Purchase about their master's program in business and the arts, and they told me not very many artists are interested in it. It's mostly business people taking that program. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I recently had a student that mentioned that one of the things that they would be looking into is, in terms of going to further education, was business.
Oh.
Because they want to run in the end a business, an artistic business. Right? So it's interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
again, that's it. It doesn't, you know, it's not going to necessarily under every circumstance be this way or that way. There's lots of nuance in there.
Right. I guess I feel it's kind of, for me, it's a very difficult subject to think about because I think that art takes so much time and energy and work, and business takes another
Time and
chunk
energy
of time.
and work.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I find it to be hard to put them together. It's something I've been actually studying a lot now. I've been online listening to different podcasts about making money as an artist, particularly as a musician lately. And so I've been following that, and I still find it to be very difficult because I feel like, you know what, I need time to practice my guitar, to work on my writing projects, to my videos, animations, all my creative work. I don't really have a lot of time left over to do the business end.
Right.
You know, and when I played for Porch Fest yesterday, I spent a little bit of time going online and trying to promote it, Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. But that just took time. Just to even write to people and say, hey, come to my show.
No, it's an amazing amount of energy required to market your art.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, it's almost as if you have to be two people.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but there's this whole, movement right now. There's of people who are saying, yes, you can do it because of the internet. You can just, and you know,
it's easier.
sort
It's certainly much more possible, but
Mm-hmm.
you still have to take off the artist cap and now put
Mm-hmm.
on the business cap.
right.
Right, and you know, marketing it's a trick that
Yeah.
you know, and lots of time, like very time consuming.
And I think it also takes a different personality style in a way. Like artists tend to be
does.
more sensitive and creative and more, I don't know, like not concerned about money or material things.
I've had the
you know?
most fun in terms of creative output when I had an agent.
Oh yeah.
Okay, when
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
just-
have anything to do with selling anything.
Yeah, and you just contact
Right.
your agent. Your
You-
agent,
you
yeah.
basically go, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to do this and this
Mm-hmm.
and this, and here you go, and here's you know, here's something, and go off and do it.
Yeah, and of course agents can be very tough and aggressive and just like,
They're-
you know,
yeah.
very different from artists.
Yeah, yeah. Sales
it's-
sales is not the same as being an artist.
Yeah,
Sales-
it's totally not.
No,
I
yeah.
mean, and I think also you're so personally attached to what you do as an artist too. It's really hard
Yeah.
to like say to somebody, you need to, you know, buy this or appreciate this, and then your feelings get hurt because it's yours.
Yeah,
If
you
people
can't.
aren't-
I think wasn't it Picasso that said something along those lines that you really can't sell your own art, something to that effect. You know.
Probably, yeah.
I don't remember the quote exactly.
Was that
but it-
before or after he maimed himself? Was that the,
Yeah.
was that the cause?
You know, and then
Which
there's
is-
the arts that are you know the arts that come together, composite arts
Uh-huh.
like filmmaking and animation, and those are mass media arts.
Right, right.
So they're really strangely compromised in
Yeah.
some ways because, you know, it's like once you get to the point. I mean, you know, writing the script, writing the screenplay, that's very artistic. But once you get to the point where you're actually embodying, you're producing, executing the thing, you're thinking about, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And not always does this work for me.
Right.
Right. A lot of times does this work for the audience I'm targeting?
Right. Well, that's the business mindset.
Yeah.
The audience I'm targeting. I don't know if all people.
Not all film, like for
Think
instance, not
that
all,
way,
no, not all
you know.
filmmakers think that way, but I'd say the majority of films are thought and are produced with that thought in mind.
It's gonna,
I mean, to the point that they're testing in front of audiences.
yeah, I've heard. You know, I saw there's a movie called I Heart Huckabees. You probably never heard of it, but it's sort of political. It's an intelligent comedy, which is a rare genre. And the director who made it he said. I mean, I heard him say somewhere that he was politically active when he was younger, and and it's about that. It's very philosophical, and it's about how we want to change things, but we keep buying into corporate America and keep going along with things. And so I thought, oh, you know, this guy who made this film was like me. You know, he's thinking like I think. But then I saw somewhere online that he said that people who worked for him did some research, some market research before they made the film to see what people were looking for, or what kinds of things they wanted. And I was so disappointed by that.
Well, you know, I mean,
You know.
you know, when working with an agent, okay, I mean, I was working in an agent and designing toys, right? And it was a very artistic and creative pursuit. Art? I don't know. I mean, it was a clever way to move plastic from its raw state to the landfill in the end.
So wait, what were you doing? You were actually designing what like a baby toy looked like a baby doll or something?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, well, I kind of spanned multiple categories. Usually the designers at that point, the toy inventors, were specific. There'd be the guys that would do, you know, board games, or the people that would do the baby dolls, or the boy action figures, or the girl, you know, toys, or the, you know, I mean, it was very specific, and I just saw it as play to begin with, and so, you know, I did board games, and I did, you know, boy toys, girl toys.
Oh, cool.
you know, but what would happen, you know, it was a very interactive process, and it was loads of fun, you know, because again, I didn't have to put myself out there, but I was still working back and forth with the agents going, okay, here's 20 concepts. What do you think? Which one do you think is like, lighting your fire? Or what's and for them, lighting their fire meant, I can sell this one.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't have to think about that part of it. I let them think about that part of it. And again, it was artistic. But was it art? I don't think so. I don't think that was art.
But you were designing them. Were you drawing images and?
Oh my gosh! What I would do, I would pitch
interesting.
concepts, and then what I would do is I would actually prototype them.
Ah.
And I did that for a couple of years with my agent, right? And then one time, I did a prototype, and then we wanted to do different versions, so I did a bunch of paintings, and they freaked out because they didn't know I could paint.
Oh.
And they were like, "You've
Really?
been prototyping this stuff? Why don't you just paint it all?" Because it's faster, and you're not having to be involved with because it would take a month to build a prototype.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but still, again, it was creative. It was fun. It was artistic.
Yeah. It seems like a cool job, actually.
Well, the thing about
in a way.
that one was really interesting. My mentor, who was an ex-Disney animator, he was always complaining because we were doing commercials, lots and lots of commercials, and he called it addition, in the sense that you do a commercial, you get paid a certain sum, and that's it. It's addition. You got to do another one. You can add that, pile of money to this pile of money, and there you go. That's addition, as opposed to multiplication, which is royalties. And so the toy industry was royalties. So you could do something, and if it took off, you could actually, you didn't have to keep doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And so the royalty game, as far as artists and the business side of that, royalties were the thing that you really wanted.
Yeah. Well, for music too. And
Music,
a lot
book
of things.
writers, all of that. Those are royalty-based pursuits. And they're the ones that I think you can be most successful at business-wise, right?
Without compromising your art.
Right. Unless you're Andy Warhol and you can just manufacture it on a constant, because that's literally what he did. It was great. I mean, he was manufacturing canvases, right? And so, and that game is, you want your canvases to become more and more and more valuable. And so it's not the same as royalties and multiplication and things like that approach, but it's another way of doing it. And, producers, filmmakers, they hopefully get, more well-heeled clients over time so that the projects get bigger and bigger budgets, right? But that's, again, without the royalties involved, you're just constantly running.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I think that is a way, that would be, a good way for some artists to make money. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Already?
So yes, I told you time flies on the Indy Art Show. I don't know why.
That's funny.
It's very supernatural. It's just something that we do. Like I said, we kidnap our guests. They come in here, and then before they know it, they're out the door. So they forget all about the fact that we kidnapped them, and we haven't gotten into trouble yet for doing it. So. But
There's always a first time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, sometimes there's a little bribery involved, a little shady stuff. But So in conclusion, I guess, is the topic being money and art, and should artists make money? What do you think? Do you think
I think they should make money. I think making money, again, it's not about, the issue is not making money. The issue is having someone hand you the money before the art exists and going, the art's got to be this way.
Right.
That's not the same.
Yeah.
That's not the same.
Okay, so that's a good point. So because, and this is, again, like a topic I've been interested in for a while, because I have heard both sides of this, and a lot of us creative people, we get chastised by family and friends who want to know why we haven't gotten a real job yet, and because being an artist is not real, I guess, or the work that you do as an artist is not real. And even career counselors and things like that. There's some who they have their head in the clouds. Oh yes, you can do it. You can do anything you want. but they have no practical advice. And there's the ones who, say, no, you should never try to earn a living as an artist. It's just not possible. So that was why I was interested in this topic. I'm going to get so we've got 16 seconds left. Oh, now it's 14 seconds. Oh, should I do a countdown? All right, so I can't do a close-up of me, moi, my reason d'etre, my reason for being on this show, and my agent is in such big trouble. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time, Indy Art Show. Thank